Okay, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of November 14th, called to order at 7:02. I shall establish roll call. Melissa Wilson. Here. Okay, Floyd Jenkins is absent and excused tonight, and Chairman Rex Dornbos.
Here.
Okay, a quorum has been established.
All right, we are going to go right into tabled items. We have a number of people in audience for a tabled item that we had from last week. The Severson investment property, it's a fourplex multifamily that's looking for a replat. I believe last time we met, we established that it was strictly, we're kind of looking at ownership and not necessarily, we're looking at an ownership issue and how to break that up into townhomes. The owner, Mr. Severson, is here. Christine, what do we have? What do we have?
Okay, in front of everybody tonight, hi Dave, is I've done a preliminary update for the Severson replat. And I have distributed maps. I was asked to identify, after the scheduled public hearing and subsequent Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, which was held on October 24th, the zoning administrator was asked to prepare a property compatibility map, which is the current use of the properties now, for zoning compliance with adjoining land uses. The subject property, in which you're gonna see on there 621, is currently in the Mixed Residential and Commercial District, MRC, which allows for construction of residential duplexes, apartment units, townhomes, multi-unit complexes, or mixed commercial residential buildings. It should be noted that there is no zoning change with this replat application. The structure that is being built upon lot 621C is compliant with the established use as provided in the official zoning map, as you can see on my map there. In reviewing the adjacent parcels of land, it is noted that all properties along the south side of Alpine Drive are also in the MRC district, along with the neighboring parcels on the north side of Trail Drive Road, also located in the MRC district. The zoning of this property appears to be consistent with the area. The selected individual ownership was determined back when these properties and/or homes were constructed sometime in the 90s. That's a ballpark figure. It should be noted that although the homes located on the north side of Trail Drive are single-family homes, they are still in the MRC zoning district. A municipal zoning ordinance was initially adopted by the town of Alpine on June 18th, 1991. Since that time, a considerable number of amendments to the zoning ordinance have been adopted by the Alpine Town Council. In reviewing the Alpine Municipal Master Plan, which was finalized in October 2006, Section 7.3.3.4 encourage mixed residential and commercial land uses. Find that the subject property is compatible with the Alpine Master Plan. Alpine's municipal zoning ordinance does permit the mixing of some residential and commercial land uses. A wide variety of effective residential designs for residential apartment and condominium complexes have emerged from the construction industry during at least the past maybe 30 to 40 years. It's important that this type of residential development is not unnecessarily discouraged by arbitrary site and facility development standards. Therefore, I find that the property replat is in line with the Alpine Master Plan. After the date of the public hearing and up until the date of this update, there has been no additional letters submitted to the town of Alpine, either in support of or in protest, and/or any additional comments received by the zoning administrator. So I just wanted to point out that here is, everybody's got this, this is the map that I've come up with. This is the existing land uses. So these green, or lime green, or whatever color you want to call that, those are single-family residential homes. Blue over here is townhomes and/or duplexes. This is the subject property. This property here is got a combination of a business and a residence. Same with this property over here. Same with this property across here. All the orange ones. Which one?
I couldn't see which two properties you were talking about, the ones that were next to it.
This one right, this one
Okay.
right here, and this one right here has a combination. It has living
The barber
element
shop
and a business
Okay, thank you.
attached to it. So the red ones are really strictly business. And then the pink one is vacant. And then the orange one is the town-owned property. That's the civic center. So and then all of these on the backside, what I call the backside of Trail Drive, are all single-family homes. Okay, and then if you're looking at the zoning map here, obviously you can tell this whole strip, Alpine Drive is here, Trail Drive is here, this is all MRC zoning district. Single-family residential, the blue is the commercial. There you go.
So you broke your map, this map that you just went over is broken down into usage and not zoning. We still stick with the zoning map, but this is how it's kind of currently being
But
used.
this is how, and, because I was asked to compare the actual, uses with the actual zoning map
Okay.
for the properties.
So let me ask you another question. Is there anything stopping, so let's say some of the single family in green that you have want to go ahead and do some multifamily on there. Is there anything in our land use development code that says once they go into single family, they give up their zoning?
No, there's nothing. And as a matter of fact, I have talked to one of these people in the green area that has contemplated either removing a structure to place a different structure there, or they've talked about subdividing that off. Now, with that said, if somebody in that green area, if a catastrophe happens, they could go ahead and they could create a residential duplex apartment unit, townhouse. They have to adhere to their setbacks. So if they have enough room on their property to add an additional structure, they technically could, because they're in that mixed residential zoning district.
Or they could scrape their existing structure off, build to the
Exactly,
setbacks.
if that's what they wanted to
And do
do.
basically the same thing.
And
Okay.
620C and 622C are owned by the same person.
622 and 620.
Are
I
owned-
cannot swear to that, but I'll go with that.
She has two lots.
Okay.
Okay.
We're talking about the same person.
problem is her house sits kind
Her
of
house
on
sits-
both lots.
So back in the day, Mr. Chairman, if you had two contiguous lots, you could plop your house
Right in the middle.
on that property
I remember
line,
that.
because you had two contiguous lots. However, you were supposed to
Make-
follow up with a lot combination. However,
Does,
back in the day,
The follow-through
Does-
was always there.
so, I know commercial has a zero lot line aspect to it. Does MRC have a zero lot line aspect to it?
no.
Okay.
Commercial only has a zero setback if it's commercial to commercial. So I'll use the concrete building. On the highway side, it's commercial to commercial, so he could do a 0 lot line. But on the back portion of that, which used to be the old travel agency building, he had to adhere to a 15-foot setback.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Okay. So I know one of the things we discussed before, and one of the primary reasons why we tabled this was for CCNRs.
Yes, the
You wanna check your notes?
CCR.
I knew you'd have notes.
Yeah, we wanted to go over the CCRs. And I think one of the concerns was why wasn't it addressed? One of the things that was brought up was why wasn't this set up initially as this, and why was it changed midstream?
Yeah.
That was just one of the questions that was brought
And I
up.
think that's one of our biggest concerns, and we'll maybe get you a chance to address that here shortly. One of the other things that we have is, looks like Dave Kennington provided us with some more information on the water and sewer, is that correct?
That would be correct. Mr. Dave Kennington is
Dave,
in the
you
very
wanna
back row there.
Come on up to tell us what you researched and what you found.
Thank you, Dave Kennington with Sunrise Engineering. Your review engineer, Coulter, from Jorgensen, had a couple of comments on water, sewer, and stormwater management that we ran through today. His first question was with regards to the water model. There, we showed that the model would produce a certain volume and pressure at that site. And Coulter questioned whether we had accounted for the kind of the global water use and also the fire flow that may be required. And so we,
When you say global water use,
Oh.
you mean more like town water?
so I'm sorry, yeah, the
I wrote that
okay.
down to ask
Yeah.
exactly what
Ta-
that meant.
townwide water use. Yeah, we're not,
Kind of more of a whole.
no national policy
Yeah.
here. It's just, the,
Alarming.
with the town water. So the additional information we provided is that the model did use the peak day demand and then multiplied that by 2 to achieve what we think is the peak hour demand. And that showed that there is adequate fire flow at the ends of the blocks, or on each side of the lot where there is a fire hydrant. And then we also, the question raised by Coulter was, if the building were to be sprinklered, would there be adequate fire flow? So we modified the model and added a node or a hydrant in front of that lot and found that the fire flow there is available is about 2,300 gallons per minute, which is more than adequate for anything that could be contemplated on that lot. He had a couple of questions about the services for water and sewer, how they would be constructed. Those are my understanding is those are already run to the lot, but we explained in the information there provided under water and wastewater that the services would be a town of Alpine standard, using probably plastic lines. Sewer pipe would be a 4-inch sewer would be adequate for the townhome as proposed. Final question he had was with regards to stormwater management and snow storage. He asked if snow storage was provided, and it is provided on each end of the parking area. And also stormwater management. He asked about any soil borings or test pits that were done. And in the information I provided, I explained that we relied on the USDA soil description that described the soil as well drained. And we have witnessed dry wells that have accepted up to 200 gallons per minute indefinitely on a test we did with a fire hose in similar rocky soil. So I explained that the proposed detention basin there to buffer the stormwater runoff from the parking area and roof is adequate to hold 100 cubic feet, which is about 48 minutes of buffering storage. And at the same time, that that's happening, the water sinking into the ground at the same time. And the design was for a 10-year, 24-hour storm. And within 8 hours, that soil should be able to accept the full amount of that storm. And after 8 hours, all of the water should have infiltrated at that point. So that was the additional information I provided.
Okay.
All right.
And you sent this over to the town's engineer, Coulter, is that correct?
Coulter, yes. Yeah, I received it today, so I worked as quickly as I could and forwarded it to Coulter and copied Christine on it.
So have we heard anything back from Coulter? Christine, do you know? He hasn't probably had time to review this.
I haven't. I got my email from Coulter earlier today too, and so tried to hurry and get it sent off to Dave and to Jamie, so that way they could go ahead and get those questions answered. The one other comment that I had that I saw that Coulter asked about was where the closest fire hydrant was.
Right.
And so I identified that for him, where that hydrant is.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, one to the east, and then one up around at the intersection with the highway.
Gotcha.
Works.
Okay.
So Jorgensen Engineering's been trying to work really hard just to try to get stuff turned around for us. I just didn't have an opportunity to call them before the meeting.
Okay. All right. Well, thank
right.
you. Does anybody have any questions for, yes, sir?
How can you, how can you not dig a perk test to take a backhoe and a few gallons of water and rely on what happened wherever you're talking about this perk test that you did on another piece of property? That sounds like pretty insane engineering. I would be digging a perk test on where I was. I don't doubt that it won't perk the water.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
That appears pretty.
the sensitivity of the calculation is such that you could try to fine tune it with a perk test, but the 8 hour number maybe would change to 7 or to 9 or 10. But it would be right in that similar range to dispose of the
As
stormwater.
an engineer, I did that, and I was called into court. The prosecutor would thoroughly eviscerate me for not doing any kind of test to prove my theories on a
Well,
piece of property I'm
and that's,
I'm not trying to be
yeah.
confrontational. It just appears,
when the USDA did their soil surveys, they did do a lot of those tests, and that's how they've determined that it's a well-drained soil with limited ability to pond water.
do you have to do a perk test on every property that you build a building on in Alpine?
Nope.
You don't have to do that.
Not a requirement.
Okay.
Mostly perk tests are for septic systems.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the storm catchments, typically you're constructing it too. You dig the swell and then you dig the hole, fill it with rock, and so it does modify it somewhat from what.
So that's
What
the
it might be.
plan. You'll excavate, you'll set a perk basin in, surround it with fabric, pour washed rock in it, and then.
Generally, just a basin with washed rock and fabric.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will that serve as your snow storage as well?
A lot of places do that, and it works well to push your snow into that area, and then that keeps that snow melt from escaping and going fugitive across somebody else's lot.
They haven't really decided yet, though.
Yeah. I think that's more of a detailed design that'll be worked out.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so that, I'd like to hear back from Coulter just make sure that they review that and, don't have any further follow-up. And that the, like what was just said, that the means, that the, I guess the methods to his calculations are adequate.
Okay.
Fair? Okay, so you've also developed a set of declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions for these townhome. Would you like to speak to that? Come on up.
Name is Mark Severson. I own the property at 621 Alpine.
Gotcha. So as far as our tabled requirements, we wanted to develop some CCNRs on this, to address some of the issues that people could see potentially having, multiple owners in there, and just trying to reduce the amount of squabbling that goes on between neighbors. The denser the property, the more squabbles people get, so we can put.
Sure.
Did you, who did you have develop these CCNRs?
My attorney Jonathan, and then he forwarded them to Christine with the new amendments and
Gotcha.
stuff.
And you reviewed them and you
Mhm.
thought they're adequate?
Yeah, the snow storage, will be, under an HOA, so it'll be one unit acting for everybody. Same with the maintenance on the exterior and the roofs and stuff.
Gotcha. Um,
Question on this one?
Yeah, let's get to, can we take questions in a moment? Just a little bit. Christine, did these get a chance to get sent out to everyone
Yes, they did.
for review?
Yes.
And how did you do that?
Well, I did it 2 different times. We hand carried them out to everybody that was here at that last meeting. And the people that weren't here at that last meeting, they got notification that they are available online. They were in draft form, and then there was a slight change in the draft. So again, they were hand carried out to everybody that was in attendance at that last meeting. And another notification was mailed to everybody within that 500-foot radius.
Okay.
So I have a serious comment right in the middle of this. if you
What,
don't mind.
1 second, let me discuss this. So did we get anything back? You said you've had nothing back on
I've
your
had
administrators.
no comments, no calls, no nothing.
Okay, so, all right. All right, let's hear
So,
from the audience.
These CCRs, once the place is sold individually,
Uh-huh.
are irrelevant.
How do you figure?
Because those homeowners are now the owners of this property and they'll decide what CCRs there are. The old owner's gone. So in a townhome situation, they'll create their own board and they'll create their own CCNRs.
They do have the right to do that, yes.
Correct. So these CCRs are not relevant to the new homeowners.
They are. They are
Only
relevant
for
to the new.
that long.
That's not necessarily true, not if you have to have all the homeowners on board.
There's only gonna be 4.
Right, and have you ever tried to get 4 people to agree on anything?
No, so.
So, but it's a starting point. It is a starting point. There's old subdivisions all over that I've dealt with that have CCNRs still in place, and some of them don't even make sense anymore. And it's so hard to get a CCNR change, and get people on the same. Now, there are only 4 people, and they can change these. Did you keep any developer control in these CCNRs? I did not see that.
I hadn't, addressed that yet as, till if I do, sell them off, then
Okay. But yeah, you're right. Eventually, they could change the CCNRs. The town really wouldn't have any, I don't think the town would have any jurisdiction on that and how that goes. So, you're correct. Yes,
Should be attached to title,
they will be,
all CCNRs, yes.
yes. Yeah, but what I think Don is saying is that if you, once the board is established, CCRs can change through a vote and bylaws. And I'm assuming there's bylaws in here that talk about how to change CCRs.
Let's see.
So, yes, sir.
If you have four people that bought property right next to each other, whatever their names are, and there's one guy who's gonna tell his three neighbors, you gotta shell out an additional $200 apiece this month, so we can haul off this giant pile of snow, or I'm towing your car because we wanna plow the parking lot and you won't move. They have as horrible a job as you guys do. You know, you gotta live next door to that person. And you're telling them that, no, it's gonna cost you money to paint them, it's gonna cost you money to roof them. I mean, like you said, I bet two people can't hardly get them off.
So, yes, that can happen. However, there's a couple different things. In these CCNRs, they also have the right to lien the property. So they do have recourse, and there are some penalties in here, which helps motivate people to do things. But also, let's keep in mind, we're in theory dealing with a homeowner of a townhome that it's in their best benefit to maintain a good townhome, maintain a well-functioning board, and they benefit from that.
I would fully agree with that, but I have never seen that happen. And if you have a large board and you can kind of be anonymous, then it's a little bit easier to tell everybody in the complex if you've got 40 neighbors or whatever, you don't have to target them back. But if there's four of you and only one of you is making that decision, three of you are gonna hate the one guy making the decision.
Well, I think, number one, there would always be, aren't there always dues? There's always dues to do.
Always.
And then you have you're saying, so maybe there's an extra bit of, there's some more snow and you have to do a special assessment. That's
Well, I
also.
would think that you wouldn't wanna overcharge.
So you would have to have a meeting and a vote to do that. So one guy can't rule the roost. You're gonna need at least 3 out of 4, because you have to have a majority, right?
But that one guy, whoever it is gonna have to say, this is a giant pile, we gotta haul it off, and you're gonna have to.
I think they're all in a lifeboat together, and they have to either start rowing or they have to get buried under a pile of snow.
Right.
I've also dealt with people that won't pay their snow bill, and that's real
Yeah.
easy to fix.
I hear you, brother.
Uh-huh. You get
I know where it come
a
from.
front end loader.
Bucket of snow.
Come get your snow
Salt.
out of my driveway.
Pretty much, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm really concerned about the snow removal, because it's obvious there's no space there. I mean, all of us that live on that block, and probably anybody else in town, have had issues. I have a 4-foot fence on the one side, and it was totally buried last year, and it comes very close every year between the town plowing their roads and my snow that I have right there. I mean, it has to be hauled from there, because if that little bit of each corner is supposed to hold the snow that is in that entire driveway, that's not gonna happen. I mean, that has to be hauled away. There's
Okay.
no place to put it. I mean, Don and I had always used that lot for his snow removal and just cleared a whole area there. I mean, and now it's all building. There's no space for anything, nothing. That's a
Correct.
big concern. It's a really big concern.
I'd like to get up and talk when I get you.
Okay. Yeah, his project met the minimum requirement of snow, and it actually meets the new requirement for snow storage, We are
on
at,
the lot,
mhm.
then maybe that
On the
should
lot.
be changed, because we're,
That was
as a
in-
town, we're gonna
We
have a
just,
huge
we
issue.
just
We did just change it.
changed it from 2.5% of this parking area to 25% of the parking area?
20%.
20%. So we'll see how that goes.
And the parking area has been increased from 400 to 600.
But we still are with the matter of this parking lot.
Correct.
You're gonna change it for
And-
future, but
and-
it isn't gonna change.
Again, that goes back to the people that are living there are going to have to deal with the snow somehow, whether they're trucking it off, whether they're pushing it to the sides, and if they don't run out of room over there, then they have to truck it off. Maybe they have to make a deal with the neighbor, as long as they have an empty lot, and they can push it across the street. So,
But
That'll-
the town would not be the
Town's not involved with
person
that.
telling them to do anything,
Nope.
correct?
And they
Nope.
can't put the snow on anybody else's property.
and they can't put it on
That is
the
correct.
town right away,
Yep,
because the
that's
town has to maintain the roads, so emergency services, kids can get to school, people can get to their
By
jobs.
ordinance, they cannot push it across the street. You can load it up and haul it across the street, but you can't push it across the street.
There you go. That's the best answer I have.
It'll be an issue.
And we have some violators, but I'm not gonna bring them up.
Okay. So, did everybody get a chance to review this and read these? Did y'all get them?
I saw the draft, I didn't see the new one.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to say about this?
Nope, I mean, you know, like Christine said, I mean, there's 2 emergency snow storage parking places that give us a, 20+%.
Okay.
And if there is a problem, then, we'll deal with it.
And so, on our last meeting, I know one of the hard things that everybody was wrapping their head around was how this came about. It started out as a fourplex, a single owner fourplex, and then it turned into a subdivision with ownership being individual townhomes being sold off to other owners, and how that came about. And there was a lot of concern about people and your intention. Would you like to speak to that and
Sure.
what happened,
Yeah.
what happened there?
Well, I just decided for an exit strategy that rather than to try to sell the whole building, it might be easier to, maybe sell one off or something, and just a financial, exit strategy.
Why didn't you bring this exit strategy to the table when you were first permitting this project?
Well, they were billed as townhomes, per code, with the city and the inspections, and we met all the fire requirements, there's total separation, so you don't need sprinklers, because it's under the 5,000 that the Wyoming Fire and Safety require. So it's just basically an option for an exit strategy.
Okay. All right. Anything else you'd like to say? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Don, you would like to speak?
My name is Don Sherman, and I live directly next door to these apartment buildings. And in our last gathering, I was all for Mark's idea, but I've come up with a lot of thoughts since then. And one of the things that came to my mind, and I'm not trying to personally attack you, but I feel that since this was something that he applied for, it would be nice if he took ownership of it and dealt with it for a couple years before it was ever replatted. That was suggested by an attorney, but I gave it some thought, and I thought, well, you already got it passed, and now you want to get rid of it. So I'd like to see the owner be responsible for what he applied for, okay? Nextly, it came to mind that the likelihood of who buys those, they're not going to be $100,000 townhomes. They're not gonna be $200,000 townhomes. It's a good chance that real estate agents could buy them and turn them into Airbnbs. And so instead of having a neighbor that would be owner, and I would have a neighbor that I got to talk to and learn and meet and be a part of, would be every other week.
Actually, I was just reading that, owners are prohibited from renting out their townhomes or unit for any part of, for a period of less than 6 months. So that was in the,
But they can change the CCRs
Right.
as soon as ownership is taken
Right.
over. Okay, and then this came to my mind. What are you gonna do? And I can name 16 other apartment complexes that come to you and say, I wanna turn them into townhomes. Don Ehrlich, right across the street, has 7 of them. Dave Jenkins across the highway has multiple ones and applying to build more. There's 3 over by the Baptist. I can name 16 apartment complexes, so you're gonna set a precedent by doing this, that all these other apartments can turn them into townhomes. If these guys can, why can't the rest of town? And one of my thoughts were, people that wanna work in this town or work in Jackson may not be able to afford a $500,000 home, but they can afford to pay their rent. So you're kind of changing the workforce by creating townhomes. You may be just turning them into rich people's apartments, basically. You could be, I'm just saying, rather than worker bees. So my concern is you're gonna set a precedent, but you couldn't stop Don Ehrlich from doing those old beater apartments he's got. You know, you can't stop Dave Jenkins at that point and say, no, you can't do townhomes. You're an apartment building. You're setting a precedent for our future by allowing this to happen. And I don't want, it's not a personal attack, it was a thought for the community, where it would go and what it could do to us in the future. That was one of my biggest concerns. So, I addressed in the last meeting that I really thought it was a great idea, and I was glad that Mark came up with it, because I thought, all right, I'm gonna have 4 neighbors that I can meet. No, that may not happen. So, I'm not for it. I was for it, but I'm really not for it on the grounds that it could be turned into Airbnbs or whatever, whenever. I'm kind of with Maury on the parking and the plowing. One big snowstorm last year and he'd be hauling it off. And are you gonna have it back on a dump truck available to haul it off? That's gonna happen anyway, no matter who owns it. I mean, it's just not, we allowed 4 complexes on a lot the size of mine, and I barely can fit, you know, but I'm not using my whole yard. So it's gonna be a difficult situation, but I feel like I'd like to see Mark be responsible for that. That's what he applied for. So with that, that's what I have to say.
Okay, appreciate it. A couple things I just wanted to point out is that he did construct these with a townhome, under a townhome model. So for Dave Jenkins just to go over and change those apartments that were built in whenever they were built in would probably be a little bit of a different deal, trying to come up with the wall buildups and all of that. So it's not necessarily just a rubber stamp on every apartment in Alpine going over to townhome or a condo model.
Doesn't every structure have to have a firewall between?
didn't that change?
Even in a motel?
Yeah, there's firewalls, but there's also different wall assemblies too. So,
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's a rubber stamp, and I'm not saying that anybody could come in and all of a sudden do that.
But there's some really nice new ones.
Yep,
Possibly
yep,
could.
and that possibly could.
Right.
The other thing is the Airbnb I don't think we have anything, if he wanted to Airbnb every one of those right now, without turning them into townhomes, I don't think we have anything from stopping him doing that.
Besides
could-
what his covenant said.
Town of Alpine does not have
Well,
any
if
regulations.
he didn't wanna do townhomes, and just, he kept them as, under his own, he doesn't have to have these
Oh,
town,
that's a good call.
But
CCNRs.
guys,
Yeah.
he don't have to get you to pass his CCNRs. That's none of you guys' worries. He don't have to present you with the CCNR that you have to pass. It's not in his.
Well, he doesn't have to anymore, he is the building up.
Right?
That's what I'm saying,
Whatever it says in there doesn't matter to you guys.
it kinda does.
Not really. He doesn't have to get them passed through you.
No, but these were concerns that the
But
public has
he has to
brought
have
up
our
to us.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Or he's seeking our recommendation.
Yeah.
And that was part of, that
I get
was
that.
part of some of the feedback, some of what we got from you last time
Mm-hmm.
was that we wanted CCNRs maybe and understand the ownership and how this is set up, so.
So I'd like to see in it that you could and say that it's home, they have to be homeowner occupied. Would be a great word in those CCNRs. Homeowner occupied would be a great line, but it isn't in there.
I don't, if you're, to your point, if they can change it whenever, it doesn't matter what's in there.
Correct. Okay, so I'm done.
Yes, sir.
So my name is Jerry Bircher. I live on 144 Store Drive. The Supreme Court in the entire history of our nation has not had a set of ethic rules. They had no,
Until just recently.
they just passed them. One of the rules in there, a lot of them were way over my head, but the one I understood was they didn't say you couldn't break the law because you're obviously on the Supreme Court, you know what the law is, you're not a thief or whatever. But if you do anything that gives the appearance to the public that you're not doing the right thing by everybody, maybe by like what Clarence did with his buddy on his yacht, that might influence a case, and it looks bad. Even though maybe he didn't do anything at all wrong. It still looks horrible that you didn't make it look as though you weren't doing something improper. And it seems like when you build something and your exit strategy to get more money out of the project at the end is to get a zoning change, that's a really poor precedent for this,
He's not asking for a zoning change.
well, a plat change, whatever he's asking for, right? But it looks terrible. It looks like we're gonna give in on the zoning board and let him come out of an exit strategy with, I'll sell them as townhomes at the end, and I'll build them as this to start with, and then I'll have a financial exit strategy. If it works, great. If it don't, I'll rent them. And I'm afraid that a lot of developers are gonna see that. I mean, if I were a developer, that would be my business model.
I think you had this concern last time,
I did.
is that
Yeah, I don't think he's done anything wrong. I think the man's following the rules. It just looks bad. It looks horrible, and it sets a precedent.
okay. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments on this?
And you mentioned, just real quick, an ethnic for a construction, what did you call it last time? A new board created for,
Oh, there was, they're talking about, architectural review committee.
The architectural review
yeah,
committee.
well, you don't have one, so guess who's responsible for that?
Well,
I mean, you can't allow them to like do certain things, so you are currently the architectural board. forward.
We're the planning and zoning, and our planning and zoning ordinance have very little, they have a little bit of architectural control, but very little.
Very
What they're
few.
talking about is a lot more architectural control, so,
And I like that.
yeah, okay. Okay. Any further discussion on this? All right. Couple of things. Number one, I think we need to get, some information back from Coulter on the engineering.
Okay.
Is that about the water
The
and
water.
Okay.
I want the
okay.
town to review that.
Okay, that makes sense.
And Melissa, do you have any questions on this?
So one thing that might be a good thing to add for your definitions is just your definition of temporary. I noticed you have temporary parking in here, but I didn't see anything in the definitions. It might be a good idea to, that way, well, it's only been there a week, that's temporary, so it just might be a good idea to add that to it. No, and I mean, I just had a side just for general information, for off the record, I just had a question. Let's see here, no, there's just a couple things that I read that I think you guys answered the questions as you went along.
You made me think of something else. So,
You already said no.
Yes.
Yes, sir, Don.
if you have everybody, how many cars per bedroom was it?
Two.
Is it 2 cars per bedroom?
Oh, no.
No more than two vehicles.
One car per bedroom?
Hold on, people.
Per unit is.
I was gonna say, I believe it is
And if it's 3
Gotta get
bedrooms,
to right.
then it's,
zoning area. Okay, you ready? Mixed residential commercial buildings will require at least one designated parking space will be required for each single-bedroom dwelling unit and a minimum of 2 parking spaces per multi-bedroom unit. MRC buildings containing more than 4 dwellings will also have 1 designated guest parking space for every 2 dwelling units.
say that again? Say the last part?
If it's more than 4 dwelling units, you will have 1 designated parking space for every 2 dwelling units.
So 5, if it were a 5 block.
So if it was a 5-plex, you'd have to have the additional.
So, where did the guests park? I'm gonna have a family of 3 coming, they all own cars. And we talked about the width of Alpine Drive in the last meeting. But where did the guests go? If the guests all show up on the same weekend, where did they park?
More, yeah, got more than.
Suddenly the parking is.
That's the land use development code, that's what's required.
Yep.
So that is the requirement that has been established by the
I know,
town council.
we talked about that. I've asked about it before. Parking is an issue. I don't wanna see them parking in my driveway.
No,
I don't wanna see them parking in Don Ehrlich's, cause he'll have a fit. You know, at some point, where are they all gonna park is going to be an issue. And do we just ignore it?
Well, I'm sure, I'm just gonna state something as well. I would make the assumption, when I have family come in, and I know that we're not gonna have a room, I always check with my neighbors around and find other places to park. So I'm gonna make the assumption, I would like to assume that they're gonna be decent homeowners, and they're gonna plan accordingly, and they're not gonna park like butt heads all over in their neighbors' yards without asking proper question, or proper permission. I would like to assume that. So,
It's a fairly wide street, isn't it, Don? I don't know what the width is. but-
In the
Actually,
wintertime,
yeah.
you can't park
oh,
there at
yeah,
all.
that's the same with all driveways, yeah, and streets, and
They
yeah.
can't park there at all.
No.
They have to use
Yes, ma'am.
some properties.
I'm just wondering, all these issues, the snow, the parking, what difference is it whether it's rentals or if it's townhouse? You're still gonna need the snow removal issue, there's still gonna be the parking issues.
it's,
Yes, ma'am.
So
and again, it goes back to what we said, how we started this out. It turns into an ownership issue, and whether or not, and how the ownership, because the building doesn't change, the parking doesn't change, it's simply the ownership.
So you can have all these same problems. I mean, he already has permit, you know, he built the place, he can have it as rentals. So all these issues you're talking about could still happen if he keeps ownership of it and rents those out.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Could rent them out for Airbnbs, you know, there's still gonna be people parking, they're gonna have guests come.
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't understand all of this, you know, the difference in whether there's, you know, 4 owners and you have a CC&R, or whether there's an absentee owner. You know, he could sell this building tomorrow, right? He could sell it tomorrow to somebody else who's gonna rent those all out, let people Airbnb them, and you're gonna have to track down that owner. I just don't understand the big difference between if it's gonna be rentals or townhouses with this, you know, with the issues you're talking about.
We're trying to figure out what's gonna happen.
Well, what's gonna happen if it's rentals?
Same,
Well, I
same
think
problem.
it was the, and I think you were at the last meeting, I think one of the biggest concerns was the method used to get them to be townhouses.
Okay,
That was one
so
of the
whatever
concerns.
that was, so maybe he just realized halfway through, oh, well, if I do this townhouses, you know, people would have ownership or whatever, but it's not gonna change,
Any of the parking and snow.
it's not gonna, or the snow removal or anything like that.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're upset with him for changing his mind.
No, I'm not upset with him at all, he's a great guy. But I think he just needs to take responsibility for what he applied for and got, for at least a minimum of a certain amount of time.
Is there a
So he-
law, is there a rule that says he has to keep
No,
keep
but
ownership
don't
of
you
it?
feel
He
that
can
he-
sell it tomorrow.
But he doesn't, his situation is if he doesn't get it replatted, which is up to the planning and zoning and the town council, then he does have to take responsibility for what he applied for.
He could sell it tomorrow, though. He could sell it tomorrow and have it off his
As an
hands.
apartment
Yeah.
building.
As an apartment building. So then the snow removal, the parking,
Correct.
those are all the
And
same.
then the new
Yeah.
buyer
Yes,
has
ma'am.
the same situation. He currently has bought an apartment building,
No.
not a townhome.
Okay.
It's the ownership structure, it's the only difference.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know that there's anything different about it.
One owner or owner. You guys just said yourselves, trying to get 4 people to create a quorum is a whole different game. So one owner.
So you
as
think-
opposed to 4. There's the difference.
But I think what was just pointed out is like, there could be an absentee owner.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no guarantee that he's gonna keep this.
Mark won't be absent if he keeps it as an apartment. He'll be here to deal with it.
But he could sell it. He could
There's no
sell it.
guarantee.
Yeah, there's-
no
yeah.
You
guarantee
guys
on
would
it.
have to take ownership of it and be responsible for what he bought.
Well, the homeowners, if there's 4 of them, are gonna have to be responsible.
They'll have to be responsible adults. Yes, ma'am.
And I think it would have.
luck.
I think
Okay.
part of the hard part to digest about this whole thing is the way you work around this. I understand what you're saying about precedent, but I also think that each individual case could be taken on its own. It's not necessarily a guarantee just because, if you were to get a townhome out of this, doesn't mean the next guy gets it. That is not, we all have the right, these boards all have the right to make their own mistakes. There's not a series of precedents. So,
And people's lives change too. I mean, every one of us, I'm sure, has started a project and gonna start a project one way and then like, oh gosh, I can't do it that way. I need to shift gears and do it this way. it's the nature of where we live and what we do, and I assume that that's how this came about as well. And, I mean, it does seem a little funky on how it went down, but it makes sense that you have to change your mind, or you changed your mind.
And honestly, like, I keep on going back to, because I don't like how, like, I'm not a big fan of how this is coming around, but I keep on going back to the one question is, if you came to this with the plan in hand as townhomes, would we have done anything different?
I don't think so.
I don't
I
think
mean,
we
the only
would've.
thing we had the concern with is,
The parking's the same, the structure's the same, the snow storage is the same.
Why is that one 4 units, so in all of ours are 2 units, they have yard space, and this one has no yard space, there's no side, there's no back, there's a driveway, but it's not adequate, because it's just not enough for 4 units, and I know that's too late now, but I'm surprised that they allowed 4 units on that lot. It's a .20 lot, it's small. You know, it's just.
we've,
But does that change the townhome versus, does
No,
that change what
it
he's doing
doesn't.
tonight?
I can't figure out how that was allowed, I just think it's crazy.
He met all the requirements.
yeah.
He met all,
all
okay,
the
so
requirements.
the requirements are what are established in the Land Use Development Code. Maybe they're not the best requirements. It's the minimum requirements, the minimum parking requirement. We all know that 2.5% snow storage is not adequate. We saw what happened last year. So we tried to move forward to get the amendments done, so that way, with all these new builds, people are required to do 20%. We realize parking's an issue, snow storage is an issue. These guys have tried to work to get these regulations changed. However, they make recommendations to the town council. It goes to the town council level. Maybe it hits a stall, maybe it doesn't, but, you know, we have to work through that process. It's not an easy process. It's a 3-month process, and actually, this has been longer than a 3-month process. And I'm hoping that at this November meeting, the town council makes the third and final reading, so we can start moving forward with requiring that 20%, requiring that 600 square feet of parking, whether it's in a garage or it's in a driveway. I mean, so we've been trying to work hard. We know that there's issues that are flawed, perhaps, and need attention. So,
And as a ex-P&Z guy for 6 years, I never seen that as a problem when I was on the board. I agree. I didn't even know what the amount was of snow storage, but it was one of my favorite questions when somebody came with a building. What are you gonna do with your snow? And they all had everything figured out to achieve what they were gonna do, but I didn't realize I was going by 2%. So I understand how that could get by. You know, it's like, until it happened, you're like, well, we can't deny it, it's part of the ordinances, the building codes, it's okay. So in you guys' behalf, I can see where it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And he meets all of the setbacks currently. You can't go forward in time.
he meets all the setbacks, he meets the snow storage, he meets the parking requirements. The parking requirements can also include the garage as part of parking. So, because I think somebody addressed guest spaces too. I'm trying to look for my other paper.
So, that's kind of where I'm at. I keep on going back to, because I don't necessarily like how it's coming around. I wouldn't recommend other developers do it this way. For everything I know, that he's a good guy and a good neighbor. And I keep on coming back to, would I have done anything different if this was presented as a townhome up front? And I don't think I would.
I don't think so
can't
either.
come up with anything.
I mean, we looked at the plans, we looked at everything to where, with the walls and everything along those lines. And our only concerns that we had, because it did meet all of the requirements, the only concerns we had were, well, we need to make sure we have the proper snow storage in the parking. And like Christine just said, when we talked about, I just wrote down to double check on the, if the parking also included the garage. I couldn't remember where we landed on that. But those were the only things that were, our concerns were the same thing, the snow removal and the parking, 100%. So we addressed that.
These townhomes behind here are awesome, I think. But do they each one have an individual water hookup and sewer hookup?
They do.
They do.
They do.
And so does this project.
He has one sewer hookup and one water hookup, splitting into 4 units.
With 4 separate meters
Correct.
on each.
But there's only one hookup to the water, town water. And it goes in and splits and goes to 4 buildings.
By Wyoming code, you don't have to have them.
No, it's all good. I talked to him right off the bat and said, look, Mark, you're paying for 4 sewer hookups and 4 water hookups. I wouldn't let him urge me to do it this way. So my question was, are these all individually hooked onto the town sewer and water? Or did they have?
Yeah, those are individual. So how is his project hook up into the?
I'm sure they've
Yes.
got meters, correct?
The master plan
All right.
identified that
David
there's
can
a-
help
there's a water and sewer stub there. There's not individual stubs across that road for each unit.
No.
But they tee off before they
But they
enter
tee off
the
before
units?
they enter the building.
Or do they enter the building as one and then hook along through the?
Come into the yard with 4 meters.
Well,
One hookup goes to 4 meters. And then from the 4 meters, it goes to the units.
Then that's on the water side.
And on the sewer side, this one hooks into this one and this one, so if the first one plugs up, the last one's gonna have a plug.
Is that true? Is that your
Well,
understanding?
I watched them.
Right now, there's not a sewer main stubbed across the street. That's a sewer service that's stubbed across the street.
But are they hooked up in the crawl space in a series, or do they come in individually?
They come out to each side and then a main trunk.
So you have a clean out outside, and then a main trunk that goes into the town sewer. Do you know if, I wish Marlo would hear, because he could probably answer that, if the.
Marlo just texted me and said he won't be able, I left another meeting and he was tied up.
I guess the ownership of that the ownership of the sewer would fall under the townhome
oh,
HOA. And then when it exits into your, maybe past the clean out, it becomes yours.
so is that a question that we should ask as well? The engineers from, you mentioned to ask Coulter about the water. Is that something we need to ask him about that as well?
No, it goes back to ownership.
Okay.
Cole,
Oh, goodness.
Sewer comes out in front, this sewer hooks in,
it goes back to ownership.
Yeah.
this sewer hooks in, goes out.
Do you know if that's addressed in the CCNRs?
I don't know if it is.
I don't know if I saw anything about that.
The utilities into and how they're handled?
Well, it has separate utilities too, separate meters.
Okay.
Right, well,
Right.
and I'm looking as the utilities as like water, sewer, power.
And there's separation, but there's two well meters, or 2 meter things with 2 separate. And then they split, there's 2 that split off with 2 wells.
In the meter pit, there's a platter with two positions for the 2 meters.
Right.
in each pit.
And that's for the water.
That was for the water, not for the sewer.
Okay, that's just honestly, again, that goes back to ownership and how how that's broken up. I think it should be looked at.
Mr. Chairman, can I address a
Yeah.
question that Mari asked? So Mari asked about landscaping and why her property has more room, more landscaping. I don't know when her property was built.
94.
But back in the day, was probably different regulations that dictated that. However, with that said, we get back to parking requirements and snow storage requirements. The requirement for a minor subdivision is that you provide a landscape plan. A landscape plan was provided. However, again, there is no specific percentage of what you need for the landscaping. So the plan was submitted. There's no percentages, no requirements. So that's the only way I can address your question.
If I could quickly approach, and then I'm gonna leave, Rex, but
Okay.
this is the unit, and this is out in front,
Right.
and then this one ties in, this one ties in, this one ties in, and goes out in the street.
So, here's how I think they deal with that. Everything beyond this is yours, and everything along here is townhome ownership,
You see what
HOA.
happens If it plugs right there, it plugs them all. I gotta go. See you
Okay.
guys, have a good
Okay,
day.
Don, I got one more comment to say that you might want to hear. Can I go, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Okay, we talked about Mr. Sanderson and what his comments were when he responded back to our questions. So, this morning at 11:49, I got an email that said, "I spoke with Marlo Sherbel regarding the comments on this application," Mr. Severson's application. I explained to Marlo Sherbel why I thought a condo was a better option. However, Marlo convinced me that they can do their townhomes with an HOA and covenants that would serve as a basis for the individual homeowners to be protected. If they want to have their divided properties, I am okay with it as long as they have CC&Rs that will protect the other owners within the division." Mr. Sanderson,
That's town attorney.
town attorney.
Okay. All right, going back to the utilities.
Sorry.
On page 9 of the CCNRs, it talks about utility easements, and the HOA townhome units have common areas that the utilities fall into, and the common area maintenance, specifically, utilities fall under that as well. So if there were a blockage, it would fall under maintenance. Everybody's gonna have to pitch in to make sure
One pays, they all pay.
one pay, they all pay.
Okay. That's the reason I was asking about these, I actually think this all turned out really nice.
Thank you, I do too,
Yeah.
but I don't know why I said thank you, but I want to thank you for saying that, I guess, because I think they turned out well. I think the developer did everything he said he was going to do, and they look really
I
nice.
was asking if like they were all tied into one sewer line coming out
Right.
and one water line. That was the reason I asked.
Gotcha.
Okay, guys,
You gotta go.
I'm gonna go.
All right,
Thank you.
I think we've talked about this quite a bit. Our job here tonight is to give a recommendation or not a recommendation. I think we're gonna close discussion on this.
Yeah.
Melissa, what do you think about this?
So I mean, if I recall correctly, the difference between the townhome and the townhome and the condos, and I understand where they're coming from, and especially changing it over to townhomes makes it a little bit easier to get financing and to purchase. So as somebody who's trying to buy a house or anything along those lines, whatever we can do to streamline that for some other folks, I like I like the townhome version better. So, to be understanding about how you can change your mind midstream, especially with something like this. It would've been nice if it was this way to begin with, but I don't have any problems with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's good.
It really does come down to an ownership issue for me, and I've said it 3 times now, I can't go, I don't know what I would have done different if you had presented this as townhomes at the
Yeah.
very front.
I've been the same,
Um,
too,
I am very pro property owner,
yeah. Yep,
and
I am too.
if you can do it on your land, I don't wanna hold you back, so.
I agree.
I would like to make a motion to,
Hang on,
Oh,
hang on. I lost my paper.
I would like to make a motion on
Okay.
the recommendation of approval of this townhome of, wait a minute,
wait for it.
townhome addition, multifamily, it would be replat 03-23, with contingency that I wanna see what, the town engineer
For the water.
says about the water and sewer, and make sure that he reviews that.
I'll second said motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so this recommendation then goes to the town council. Town council reviews everything again. They discuss it. It's open for discussion, like town council meetings. Will it go next week?
No,
Of December, wasn't it?
so everybody will have another opportunity to attend another meeting and voice their opinions. The town council will hold a public hearing on this at their December 19th scheduled town council meeting.
So it's gonna be at 7, not 6:30?
It'll be, I don't know what time it'll be.
Okay.
Because that meeting's pretty stacked. I think they have a couple of replats,
Okay.
a couple of public hearings that they're gonna have. So it could be 6:15,
Okay.
could be 6:30, could be 7:45. You might only have a short window. I'd suggest that you submit written
Oh,
comments
that's a good call.
to help streamline that, only because I know that they have, I think, 2 other public hearings that particular night.
Yep,
They're gonna be busy.
yep.
Do you need to get, would it be easier for you to have us get on the agenda if we have public comment for certain items? Or does it-
That probably would be helpful if
Would
you,
it?
if you,
Okay, I'll
if
call
you
you.
feel that
Thank
you
you.
can kinda, yeah.
Yeah, I'll call you. Thank you.
So that's what this piece of
No,
paper
we did
was,
not use
just
this
to
is the comments.
Oh.
let everybody know that
I got
there
you.
is another opportunity
Thank you. I
to
forgot
voice
about that.
opinions.
All right, I have a motion and
Oh.
a second.
Found my paper.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thanks for coming in, folks. I appreciate it. Of course.
Everybody leaving? You guys got a long,
oh,
good to
yes.
see you. Thanks.
Well, I appreciate your comments.
Oh, sir. Thank you so much. You bet. Thank you, sir. Hey, Rex.
I know this is a question. Thank you.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Is this a normal amount of insurance? This is just general.
Thanks, Jerry. We'll talk soon, okay?
That would be
Oh, yeah, we'll give you a jingle. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
uh-huh.
Okay.
umbrella,
Okay, Mark, drive carefully.
because think about it.
Drive
they're all-
careful.
Well, thanks, guys.
Even though they're in a townhome plat, they're all under the same building, so if your neighbors
House
had a
burns down.
kitchen fire, it could potentially affect the rest of the.
So then that makes up for
So
the
it's
cost,
the
yeah.
umbrella coverage.
Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, obviously, he didn't need to explain that to me.
It could
I
be
was just curious.
smoke damage or something like, yeah. Okay,
Sorry,
moving
boss.
on. Tabled items, Geek, Jepson. And
Okay.
you know what? Thank you back there.
Yes.
For that. That was a well-timed comment.
Yes, thank you.
I enjoyed your
We did too.
enthusiasm.
I concur with that statement.
All right. Keith Jepson, do we have any update on that?
Okay, yes, no.
No.
Yes and no. So let me get to my appropriate paperwork.
Yeah, I got it, yeah, give me,
Last,
I
I
guess.
think last we heard they were,
So I did send them a letter, and I asked them in reviewing their building, and I've included it in here, but I'm just gonna hit the highlights. I asked them that their building permit will expire on November 6th. How the application process is, it's valid for 90 days from submittal with a one-time 90-day extension allowance upon showing justifiable cause. If any of the items aren't submitted, that they need to get them either submitted or start the whole process over. If you recall with this project, it was a pretty big project, and at that time, I went ahead and took their plan set, and I told them that I would calculate their water and sewer fees. And when we had our public hearing at that, was it a public hearing? When we had our meeting, I presented them with the fees and stuff like that. So as you recall, your filing fees were not paid at the time of submittal. If you wish to continue forward with your permit application, you will need to pay all of your fees, water, sewer, connection costs, along with the building permit fees, plus the extension of a $300 extension fee. However, with that said, if you are not going to start your project until sometime in the spring, I would suggest that you resubmit your permit application then with all the required fees, and then you can start your 90-day process upon submittal. If this is your choice, in the meantime, if you have any questions, call me. Please contact us by November 13th to let us know your decision. I have not heard anything. So what I would like to do is, since I haven't heard anything from them, I'd like to remove that from the tabled items.
because it is, they're
Because they're expired.
expired.
And they could get an extension on their application.
Only if they
It's a
call you.
$300 fee, but since they didn't pay their fees to begin with, I told them that they need to pay all of their fees.
Yeah.
And then,
Okay,
I'll make a motion to remove the Jepson, where's the number, R2-02-23 from the list.
I'll second that. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Tienda La Mexicana.
is that how you say that?
Tienda. Yeah,
Works for me.
I wasn't very,
I was locked up on that last one. I was like, what is, but Tienda?
oh, well, I didn't
neighborhood
really
grocery store.
do good in Spanish class.
No, I didn't.
We'll just
I did
say that.
horrible.
I have no new information on this. I haven't heard from the state fire marshal. I don't have any new information from the applicants.
Are
They're
they,
open and running, aren't they?
but they're running as a grocery store, I'm
As a
assuming. Are they
grocery
serving, they're not
store.
serving food, right?
I haven't
I haven't
been
been
over
in
there.
there.
Don't know.
Okay.
I can check into that.
Yeah, I think they would need, wouldn't they need all those inspections?
Right. And, I've been in kind of contact with the state fire marshal, so I'll have to reach out again.
Okay, please do.
Okay. So,
Okay, we're gonna leave that on the tabled items.
I concur.
Okay, going down to new business.
Okay.
Tonight. Looks like we have a sign, and it's KBP Building Materials LLC, a sign application. Do we have, who's representing that?
who
Where is Randy?
do you think? I need to
I'm
learn.
thinking
I don't
you
know what
are
happened tonight.
representing.
See, this is what happens to me.
Are we gonna have Sarah represent it?
Sarah's learning.
Okay,
I promised her she didn't have to talk tonight. Okay?
all right,
So, on the second page, you're gonna see that it's the old Jenkins that they did the Black Mountain Reynolds, Black
Yeah.
Mountain Reynolds moved out, now the paint store. So now this is Jenkins Paint and Sundries. And so it'll be matching with the Jenkins
Nice.
hardware.
I like the fact that they included sundries, because You can't find a good sundry store around here.
I know, that's kind of what I was thinking, so. Sign Pro is doing the sign. They have met all of their obligations. Their total square footage on their non-illuminated sign is gonna be 43.30 square feet. They have a cap of 200 square feet. They're in the commercial zoning district. And so they have met their requirement for sign allotment.
Perfect.
And they are going to be installing, hopefully, the sign within the next, hopefully, week or so, if this permit gets approved.
Well, seems to be a good-looking sign,
Yeah, I don't
and
have
they're
any
within
problems
their,
There's
their right, and,
Yeah.
and finally I'll know what that building's for.
Paint and sundries.
It's not a secondhand store anymore.
I know, remember when it was a
Oh,
secondhand
I
store?
do.
Oh, my gosh.
That was a while ago.
I'll make a motion to approve the Jenkins Lumber sign number S-08-23.
I'll second that motion. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, looks like the town of Alpine's doing some signage as well. What do we have going on here,
So the town of
Christine?
Alpine has now decided yet again to move the information center from the town hall building back over to the civic center. So the sign that we moved from over there to over here is now going back from here to over there.
Okay.
Copy.
And
Going back to the
sign-
same exact places?
same exact
All right,
places.
works for me.
And I told them, this is the last time. Last time.
Okay, so we don't really, we have the old calculations still work.
We have all the old
fits within
calculations, everything still
everything.
works. Signed, it is depicted on the picture there.
It's the same sign,
Nothing's
isn't it?
changed, same sign.
Yeah.
It just keeps going to various different spots.
Okay.
So you can look forward for the information signs that are along the highway. Those will be
Moved as well.
next, moved as well.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the moving of the visitor center signs on number S-07-23.
I'll second that motion. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's see, looks like we're down to some re-roofing.
Doing some re-roofing.
Joe Dvorak, is that how you pronounce that?
Joe Dvorak, and with,
Okay.
and 307 Imperial Roofing will be his contractor, who have an active business license with the town of Alpine. He is doing all like-kind materials, taking the asphalt shingles off and replacing it with not the same, but the same
Some-
Newer.
brand or whatever you want to call it, same weight asphalt shingles. There is no weight increase whatsoever.
Perfect. Works for me,
Okay,
yeah. Oh, sorry, you're,
Fire away.
there's no pressure here.
no,
I'll make a motion that we approve the re-roof installation for like materials on number MC-24-23.
I will second that. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Pete,
Late breaking addition to the agenda, and I thought it, with weather coming, it would behoove us to go ahead and try to see if we could review this tonight. Again, this is Easy Exteriors LLC, a roofing company out of Idaho Falls who has a current business license with the town of Alpine. They are removing the current roofing materials and they are replacing it with the same asphalt composition shingles. There is no increase in weight on this project either.
okay,
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve MC-25-23, re-roof installation.
I'll second that. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's new business. We're moving on. Discussion items. It looks like we have a little update on a couple of
Oh, you did the
definitions.
You got the definition, good.
So last week, I had the pleasure of attending the town council workshop in which we discussed the land use development code, proposed changes that we made. So, it appears that everybody is on board and we're hoping to move forward with the final reading, third and final reading next Tuesday night. However, I did ask for 2 additional changes, which include definitions. So I broadened the definition of a kitchen, and that's in your packet, and it's in green. So, kitchen shall mean an area used or designated to be used for preparation of food, and shall contain permanent provisions for cooking, storage, and preparation of food consisting of a sink, refrigerator, oven, and/or cooktop. The reason that I decided that I think we need to clarify that is because we are having a lot of detached accessory structures in where they're making it, in essence, an R2 property in a single-family residential district.
Okay. Can we put a comma between refrigerator and oven?
Oh, if you want.
Oh, it's not a refrigerator oven? Oh,
And is that an oven and/or a cooktop, or is it all of them?
Well, it's funny you might ask.
oh.
So
Needed
you
homework.
could technically have an oven, I guess, but then a lot of ovens nowadays have the cooktop on top of it. So, and the reason that this came up is because somebody put a cooktop in
No
there,
oven.
and they said, oh, well, you said I couldn't have an oven. No, that's not what I said, but
You probably, yeah.
it's an issue.
Okay.
So that's why I put and/or.
I do like specifically it's for preparation of food and storage of food.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we're seeing a lot of different issues kind of coming down the pike.
Yeah.
And I think we need to try to be maybe a little bit more,
Well, I think like
Oh.
tonight's
Yeah.
discussion is one of them, density issues. People aren't used to the density. In '94, there were twin homes and everybody wanted a yard. And
Yep.
now there's.
No, people want more
now
house
there's
and less
4
yard.
Yeah, fourplexes.
Not me.
Right.
I like
So-
my yard.
Density issues are coming to Alpine.
list.
Yes, they are.
All right.
Okay,
For that-
and so the other issue is I felt that we needed a definition for utility systems, because if you look in our zoning ordinance, you can see that unfortunately, in every single zoning category, there's an area for a permitted use of structure supporting regional and community utility systems. And there's no definition for utility systems, so I came up with one. So utility system means any of the following: a system for the treatment or supply of water, a system for the collection or treatment of wastewater, a system for the generation of supply of steam, hot water, and chilled water, a system for the supply of natural gas, a system for the transmission of telecommunications.
How about electricity?
Ooh.
No, you don't need electric.
Could we include electricity if we're gonna have that in there?
Sure.
I bet Lower Valley would appreciate that.
They would. Okay, and the reason that this did, we're gonna see something perhaps coming down the pike. The town of Alpine has applied for a grant, has received a grant for radio read meters.
Oh,
We
that's
are doing a water study of some sort, and I forget what it's called. And we are gonna have to have some antenna towers. So there's also discussion of where does it fit and what is the height going to be of that. So of course, we are gonna have to see some type of height.
We're talking like 80, 90 feet radio towers, or are we talking?
Thinking we're
60.
talking
They're talking about
60 to 70, maybe 80.
But they don't
Kidding.
know, they won't know until they get the study done on how tall it's gonna be. And they were concerned that if they didn't have something like this in the books already, then that just give them carte blanche to do whatever they wanted.
So where will these radio towers, are they talking up
That
at
is
the,
undetermined at this point in
at the,
time.
like the wells,
They are looking at a couple of different locations.
water tanks?
One would be the town of Alpine office here. And one would be, we talked about that. So we talked about a Silver Star antenna, which is not in our incorporated boundaries, but it's close by. We talked about it being at the Weeman Lift Station, for lack of a better description.
Boardwalk.
Boardwalk, yeah, there you go, thanks. I knew there was a different name for it. And there is one other location. It's not at our lift station in Alpine Meadows, because I'm pretty sure Alpine Meadows wouldn't let us put a antenna over there.
So, as you, as
Very
a
peak
P and
part.
Z,
Oh, that's right.
can we make sure that those are identified and brought to the, like the air park? And I think they probably have to be, if they're gonna be 80 feet tall. They're gonna have to be notified that they're gonna, at some point, be in somebody's flight path?
They talked about that at the meeting too.
Good, okay,
Yeah, that was brought up.
good.
But the concern was that they didn't know how dang tall the things were gonna be just
Right.
yet. But,
Right.
yeah, that was brought up as well on the flight plan.
Yeah.
The engineer was working with me on that, and I've been having him work on a lot of stuff, and he just wasn't able to really get that pulled together. He thought it could be 60 feet. It could possibly be 80 feet, and I said, I don't have a mechanism in my land use development code, but, so I'm gonna have to put something somewhere in there. So, so this was discussed. The town council said that adding these two definitions. We did talk about, the MRC buildings having that 33%, in that area if they want to go to that 45-foot height.
If they're 33, they're 33% commercial,
If they're
They can
33,
go to,
they can go to that 45-foot
45
height
foot
limit.
height.
If they don't have 33%, then they're gonna have to stick with
Under.
that 35-foot height limit.
Gotcha.
So
Right.
they seem to be all on board with that.
Okay.
So, I'm hoping that's the final push to get them to approve it at next week's third and final reading.
Okay, and it looks like you're adding some wall definitions.
No,
Oh, those are
old.
all. So
Yeah.
this is all we're talking about.
Green, we're only talking green.
What
Okay.
did you?
Red was the first go-around, and then blue was the second go-around.
What did you land, how did you land on the, no commercial on top of residential or whatever?
That's at 33%.
Right, but there was also a conversation on whether or not we should do, commercial only on the bottom, no residential below commercial or something along those lines. There was just a part of the conversation that they had at the meeting last week.
They never really
Didn't really land on anything of
didn't
that.
land on anything.
Just a discussion point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What would be the issue?
they were concerned about having, commercial.
Having a bar on top
On top
of a residential.
Yeah. So if somebody,
So if you had,
yeah, I know.
it just, when you
But-
think you ever got everything figured out. So if somebody wanted to have a rooftop bar, a
Rooftop
commercial
bar.
rooftop bar,
And girl, I hope.
and, yeah, maybe, whatever, but not, it boggled my mind. So not to have it up there because it could disrupt the residents below.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was a big, it was a very
Yeah.
interesting
So
conversation.
nobody's proposing this.
Nobody's
It's just
proposing it, but,
Someone's
so the.
foreseeing a problem that we don't have yet.
So somebody was like, well, how are you
Okay.
gonna determine where that 33% is?
Yeah.
Well, okay, if it's a commercial element to it, it's gonna have to go through state fire marshal. If it goes
Yeah.
through state fire marshal and you got your bar up on the roof, you're gonna have to have an elevator. It could be cost prohibitive. It,
Right.
Yeah,
it
was-
just, it snowballed
It
that
totally
way.
did. I just didn't know how, if there was any wording that changed like they were talking about or anything. Okay,
There
Okay.
wasn't.
All right,
okay. Sorry, boss. Didn't mean to make you
That's
go
good.
down that rabbit hole again.
good stuff.
Oh, no, it's the.
Okay, so this is, these are the thing, Melissa,
Sir?
are you good with all these changes? Did you
Oh,
see anything
I
you
was
wanna
like,
add?
yeah, I'm good with those changes. Yes, sir.
Do we
to
need
make a motion?
a, motion to approve these?
No, I just wanted to enlighten you.
She already made the motion.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
I mean, you can make a motion if you like.
Do we need to?
No.
Okay,
We're good.
I make
We're
a motion,
moving
we
on.
move on.
I second said
That
motion.
sounds like a plan. Perfect.
All right. Okay, that was done. Public comments or concerns? Do you have any concerns out there?
None at all.
Okay, good. Planning and zoning correspondence.
But she needs to make sure that she comes, and so correspondence, she needs to make sure that she comes to the next one on December 12th. So on December 12th, we are going to have another public hearing, so.
By she, you're looking at me? Yeah.
Yeah, everybody.
Oh, gotcha.
No, I'm talking about.
Oh, I was like, well, we'll be there anyway. but-
So we're having another public hearing on the Grist edition, okay? And I'm doing the same exact thing that I just did for this replat. So I'll have a really cool little colored map for all the zoning in that proposed area because
Because they were concerned about density, again, the size of
Yes.
lot.
the size of the
There were
lot.
Two issues they were kicking back, size
There-
of lot and,
They
Is
didn't,
it-
somebody
is
else
it-
didn't get to buy the land before they
Well,
did this.
no, yeah, that too, but that wasn't. Is it consistent with the
Master
master
plan.
plan?
oh, okay,
And
yeah.
it is consistent
is.
with the master plan, because unfortunately, the master plan is out of date, 2006. And they were talking about growth and potential subdivisions and stuff like that, so I'm in the
So
process
you're
of preparing
researching,
that.
you're going through the
Okay.
master plan,
I'm going through the-
documenting
That it does comply with the adopted master plan that was created in 2006.
this is, okay.
Well, and
This is a
also,
peek into your
Into
initial
the-
findings, but you're open-minded to this.
I'm open-minded to
Yes.
this. And so I have created another map for that particular area that's gonna depict the same thing. So I've broken it down into lot sizes, 1 acre lot
Perfect.
sizes, half acre lot sizes,
That's perfect.
quarter acre lot sizes, 3/4 acre lot sizes.
Does the master plan talk about the percentage of all those lots that they want, or not so much?
Not so much.
Oh.
It's kind
I
of
know.
It's
useless.
very, it's kind of generic-y,
Generic,
yeah, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I
But,
think,
so I'll have another, I think, color-coded map like this, because that was one of the attorney's concerns, that I did not identify the adjacent landowners and their size of their parcels.
yeah.
All of those parcels over there are gonna be single-family.
And the majority, I looked that up
residential.
as well. A lot of those, majority of those lots are half acre.
A lot of those,
All of them, a lot of them, except for
half
those
acre.
three.
it-
Or
well,
a couple of them.
if you
A lot,
must,
but not all.
if you must
Yeah.
know, this is an acre lot, this
Yeah.
is an acre lot, an acre lot, an acre lot.
Yes.
Okay? So, this is not a very good map, but these are half acres.
Yeah, everything
This is-
else in that
This
neighborhood.
is .7.
Yep, Karen's got a big one.
This is .6. I mean, so they're all within that, and if he subdivides this off here, those four
It's-
will be half acres.
Yeah.
These are all half acres. This was a lot combination, this is about an acre lot, so I mean,
It's still
It's
consistent with the
within that-
neighborhood.
It's
Yeah.
consistent within that neighborhood.
I didn't
is
have-
what I have found.
And that's what I looked up too when this first came down the pikes was, I went through, looked on the GIS as well to see what the local lots were around, and you're absolutely correct, they're half acre or more, a couple a little less.
And they're
like
all
0.45 or something, but,
Single-family
Yeah, and I
residential
mean-
zoning.
and we're talking about having more houses for people to move to, and unfortunately,
I am excited to find your
I am too.
research.
My findings.
Uh-huh.
Yes. I will be
that's-
sending off an email. The town council has been provided with some notes regarding those property replats and thoughts and comments. And I did have a conversation with an area property owner, and I told him that we will be talking about it on Tuesday, December 12th at our 6:30 meeting, and please try to provide comments. His comments were in excess of 50 pages.
Wow, substantial.
Substantial, yes. And
Single
I,
spaced, both sides?
Single space both sides.
no, it wasn't single space.
Okay.
But it was, and I'll send that stuff off to you. He did ask me if I read it, and I did tell him I did read it, and he asked me if I had any questions, and I said no.
Okay. Or in college, I'd be asking for the Cliff Notes,
Exactly.
but I'll read it.
So I did encourage him if he has, because we will have a short window of opportunity. Our public hearing starts at 6:30, and then our regular meeting starts at 7. And then, so according to the town attorney, I have been authorized to go ahead, re-advertise the public hearing for the 12th at the P and Z level, re-advertise the public hearing at the town council level for the next week on December 19th. That December 19th for the town council will be a jam-packed meeting for them. Oops.
Oh,
I
exciting.
think they have 3 public hearings that night. Mr. Severson's, Mr. Grice's, and I believe an annexation. And unfortunately,
Who's annexing?
the Ray Haffey's, the Zyland subdivision,
Did he submit a plan?
a
Application?
petition.
Petition.
Remember, we don't have a plan, we don't have an application, they're still trying to,
What's it gonna be zoned? Do we know?
I don't know yet.
Oh, gotcha.
I
Okay.
think it's gonna be MRC, to be honest.
Well, it sounds like December's gonna be.
December is gonna be just really,
Jam-packed.
really fun, and unfortunately, I did probably stack it a little much, so I think each of those public hearings might only have, I'm not in charge of it, but I think they might only have 15 minutes.
Ooh, snap.
Talk fast.
Wow.
It's gonna be up to the town council on how they want to proceed with that.
That's gonna be fun. Okay.
Okay, well, that sounds very active. Planning is going in correspondence, comments and concerns from commissioners, do we have anything?
I think I'm done talking.
My term, we should throw this out to the commissioners, my term is up this year, and I'm not going to I'm not gonna stay on.
I
Vacating.
thought you
Are you
had
gonna-
to because you had a badge.
Well,
They took the
do.
time to get you a badge.
And does have my name on it, so if there's another Rex Dornbos out there.
So that means you have to stay.
No, it means I'm available in the future at some given point, but for right now, I think I'm going to exit the P and Z. So if we could let, the town council know.
I will let the town council know that. I have to determine how long you've been on the board, unless you know off the top of your
I
head.
think it's 5 years.
You've been 5 years?
I think my first term was 2 years, and then you made me do a 3-year term.
Should have done 4, huh?
Yep.
Should have negotiated. I negotiated the badge.
You got a badge.
I think the
You're-
badge was the extra year.
The extra, oh, I think that's
See?
what it was.
I don't need a badge.
Yeah.
I need a Rex.
Well, you'll do fine. You'll do great. So yeah, let them know that. And I think, are you going to the,
Yeah, I told you people
Yeah.
I was gonna do it now, but now that you're breaking up with us, I think you should have to go.
no, you go to this one. I'll go to December's.
Oh, I'm gonna go to the one in December too.
Yeah. It's gonna.
Oh, no, no, no.
Yeah,
Cut your losses.
I can't.
Take a break because you just never know. You might have to go to a couple of them back to back
Oh, I'm gonna have to anyway.
and,
I already do.
So, unfinished ongoing business, I think we should skip this tonight,
Yep, I concur.
unless there's anything very pressing you want us to take off.
let me just peruse it really quick, like.
Oh, a temporary C of O.
Where's Dan
Nice.
tonight?
Yeah, where is Dan?
Dan, he is sick.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I'm glad he didn't make it. I hope he gets better.
You know. Okay, we can skip it.
Okay.
Volunteer, ready.
Da, da, da. 6, approval of minutes, did you,
I perused them, yes, today when she
were we
emailed them to
both,
us.
were we both there?
Yeah,
Can-
I
can we
have not
approve
skipped any
those?
meetings since
You have
my
to look, you have to
September.
look at that, roll call.
Let's take a look. Let's start with
Oh, wait, I was absent.
October.
Oh,
it's
October
October
24th.
Wait,
Why were you
I
absent?
wasn't absent for that. Last one I missed was September.
You're in roll call?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
That says I wasn't there.
Were you late? Were you a little bit late? No, no.
Oh, was that the
Right,
day of the
just-
wreck of the canyon?
That might be a
Oh, the
typo. We
public
might want to,
hearing.
we might want to amend those minutes.
What was?
Because that
No,
public
I have
hearing
notes.
started at 6:38.
I have notes from that meeting night, my personal notes.
Yeah,
I
Okay,
was
you
so
were
I
there.
might, you know,
If you don't like me,
it's hard to be me.
So, let's
I was
go-
there.
Can we-
Let's make them,
a motion to amend the meetings minutes that I was actually there,
yes.
and then I will make a motion to approve said meeting minutes with said change.
Okay.
So I won't, I'll second that motion. And I will come in and sign those. How's that?
You bet.
Okay.
That sounds
So I have a
good.
motion and a second. I will, with a contingency that I'll come in and approve, sign those, after they've been corrected.
Okay.
Oh,
Any further discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Okay, then the regular meeting minutes. Let's make sure you were there as well.
I was there.
Yeah, that was a long public hearing.
Yeah.
That was a long one. That was a long night.
Yeah, it was a very long night.
Okay, you're in this one.
I'm there, yeah. I'll make a motion to, accept the meeting minutes from the October 24th meeting.
I'll second that. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Let's cancel those. And, you're assigned, you're
Yep.
going?
Yep.
All right, we're at number 9.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye. I'm
All
in
in.
flavor.
I said flavor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 8:52 PM.
Fantastic.